Welcome to the UDP Broadcast, a podcast where some friends get together to talk about gaming-related stuff and offer somewhat informed and uninformed opinions. I'm Luminary, and I'm joined today by my co-hosts, Imi, the Eternal Barcode.
Beep boop. Hi.
I don't know why that's killing me.
We're going to be laughing the whole episode. Just deal with it.
Well, like the whole Imi lore is like, I'm a barcode, beep boop. Right? And this was just beep boop. I don't know why that one got me. And fresh from the wilds of Mississippi, the Nordic Cajun.
Skull and let's be, my friends.
And terrorizing players in WoW Classic is Crit Chicken.
Hello, everybody. Hello,
Hi, Dr. Nick.
Today,
I'm going to pour myself more liquid grape juice. Wait,
Liquid
grape juice is it? Jesus Christ.
I should have just let you have that one.
Liquid
Sorry.
grape juice.
I just...
We're off the rails already. It's already 3 minutes in.
I'm cool.
I leave your ass for one night and we're going to have a liquid grape juice now? Liquid grape juice brought to you by the Eternal Barcode.
It's better than gaseous or plasma grape juice, I guess. Okay.
Hey, if you ever start bottling that stuff, you could always put barcodes just over the as a label and be like simply barcode.
Hey,
I'm going to do that because I do have labels I can print.
Let's go get behind that real quick.
Hell yes.
This episode brought to you by liquid grape juice.
I was about to say that gets you high, and it's like, no, that's the wrong word. God damn it.
Scan my wares and see what you like.
Oh, no.
Today we'll be talking about wages, patches, and murder.
It's moida, he says. Moida.
So stick around and enjoy the show. So, liquid fucking grape juice. God damn.
We can't get past it.
No, it's just like,
We're stuck.
like I'm sitting there, I'm rolling over it. My scientific brain's like, what are the the phases of grape juice? How
It starts as a liquid and then liquefies again.
It liquefies again when it's fermented with yeast.
I guess you could
There
say
we
he might need some time to mull that over.
Oh.
Brutal but awesome.
Woo!
Brutal.
Best 5-minute intro of a show yet, folks.
I'm
Stick with
already.
us. We're going places.
So
So-
EA
Yeah.
is deciding to bring out a new policy to cap the cash portion of executive severance packages, but not the amount of stock included in their compensation packages. What in the fuck is that? A little bit of background. There was a filing that was spotted by Axios this week that EA is no longer offering an employment severance or separation agreement with any of the executive officers that exceeds 2.99 times the sum of said employee's base salary plus annual bonus targets. This new structure is a partial recognition of a proposal that was set forward by shareholders and voted on earlier this year that was aimed to combat the firm's, quote, tendency to overpay management. As someone who has played EA games, watched them release them, and never support them, thank you fucking shareholders, but try harder. You're on the right track.
You're doing something. We're proud of you.
God damn.
Yeah, I read into that. Some of that was ridiculous. Like, oh no, instead of making $18 million, you're going to have to make $11 million, but get more stock.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, they're employees.
Well, and that's the thing that really bothers me is all these executives, and I think that's where everyone likes to go to and be like, "Mer, hey, the scene's changed, nice." I think that's where everybody likes to run at and be like, kill the billion or eat the billionaires. I guess that involves killing them unless you were into that weird shit.
It tastes like chicken, so it's fun.
Torgo's
Hey, there you go.
billionaire powder? Was that what it was?
Torgo's executive powder. Yeah,
There you go.
it soothes the itch, or you can feed it to the heads in the jars. Thank you, Futurama. Anyways, what really bothers me is when these executives get millions of dollars in compensation. They don't actually do a whole lot of actual work, but it's the quote unquote market standard or industry standard to be paid excessive amounts of money, where a whole chunk of that money should be going back down into your production teams so you can actually pay people who will want to stick around in your company longer. Gah.
Yeah.
I mean, good on the
Nice.
shareholders for trying to go that route of saying, no, you're getting paid way too fucking much. But at the same time, they got to start taking that stand elsewhere as well and take a much harsher stand against executive pay because it's outrageous. When you're making like 4,000 times the amount of your base employee salary, I have significant problems with that. Like, you can't spend that level of money in your lifetime. Why do you need that much money? Fuck you. I'm looking at you, Jeff Bezos.
I mean, I think I've said it on here before, but I'll say it again. Common sense is a superpower when it comes to this kind of stuff, especially in business these days. Like all these companies are complaining that they're letting all these people go, they're firing people left and right, and then complain that their business is sucking because nobody wants to do the work. It's almost as if they don't want to see what would happen if they would actually pay their employees to see the incentivization that would come along with it.
Yeah.
It's why we have this whole. I think we talked on it a couple of weeks ago. This whole quiet quitting thing is going on right now. Like people
Ooh.
are tired of going above and beyond for peanuts.
You're gonna have
We're
to enlighten me on that. Is that what you like? Quietly
quiet
quitting?
quitting.
Yeah.
Quiet quitting is it's not a new thing. It
It's been
happened.
around since like the 40s.
Oh yeah, but it's resurging right now. It's the basic employee sitting there and saying, when I clock in, I work. When I clock out, I'm done. I'm not coming in a minute early, and I'm not staying a minute late. I'm coming
Yeah.
for
It's work to
exactly.
rule.
Yeah.
Literally work to rule. And no, wait, that's how you form a union.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like if you don't want to pay me for doing my job, John's job, and Samantha's job, I'm gonna do my job and fucking leave and do nothing else.
Yeah. Don't
And
go above and beyond. Don't do anything outside your job scope. Just do exactly what's in your job description and nothing more.
because I'm sure in the 40s, 50s, on up to maybe even the 60s, 70s, you could do that. You could go above and beyond and get compensated for it, and you could get recognition for it. These days, if you go above and beyond, they expect you to stay at that top level of above and beyond.
You
If
know, funny you should say that. I had a very interesting conversation with a friend of mine who works in the insurance compensation industry. And he does claims processing. And all he really has to do is process claims. And depending on the insurance policy that a person has, it'll take longer or shorter because the company he works for has a couple different policies available. But the company likes to average everybody's targets based on the average amount of time for all the policies. Some policies take 10 minutes to complete. Some of them take 45 minutes to complete. Some of them take about an hour to complete. But they average that out and say, oh, every policy shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes. It's like,
mm,
no. And then one of my friend's coworkers was doing, say you had to do like 10 in a day. He was doing 15 or 20 in a day. So he's doing like 150% or 200% of his actual work. And he's like, oh yeah, look, I'm doing this much. And my buddy points out, like, because their bonus is tied to how many claims they do, but there's a hard cap at like, I think he said like 13 or 14%. So you don't really have an incentive to go above that. And it took him a while to explain to his coworker that every time he goes like 200% or 150%, he's raising that bar for the following year where he's going to have that as a minimum before he can get a bonus. And it took this dude months to realize that the guy was actually shooting himself in the foot.
mm-hmm.
It's like,
And that's the common thing. I mean, even in the medical industry, like I work in the bigger hospitals, if you show that you can do in their lab, for instance, if you can show you can work chemistry, blood bank, microbiology, and coag, they will expect you at least to do all of that twice a week. And some people dedicate their lives to one of those departments. Like my wife, she is strictly microbiology, strictly.
Mhm.
But if you show that you could do microbiology and blood bank, oh, they will make sure you're on the roster to do microbiology and blood bank, sometimes in the same day. First half of your day, micro, second half of the day, blood bank. And that will be your minimum requirement. I mean, when you say, I don't want to do that anymore, they're like, well, tough.
Yeah,
You're here.
Yeah.
Get to work.
To me, it just tells me all these people who try and do like 4 or 5 different things outside of their job scope to really just show off, have never worked in the IT industry. I can't speak to the programming side of the house or the database management side of the house. That's Lumi's field. But as far as the first, second, and third line support, that's what I do. I can tell you, we work to the very bare minimum because we have all at some point in our careers been put in that situation where you do one thing outside of your job scope that becomes now the ad hoc standard, which quickly becomes the de facto standard of you will look after this. And then you have your scope creep, or as you know, my military training taught me, your mission creep, that it now expands and expands and expands till you're doing so many other tertiary things when your primary role is getting neglected, your primary function is getting neglected. Those of us who've been in the IT support side of the industry for long enough know you don't take on any extra things outside of your written, job description, and you avoid any extra work as much as humanly possible because at some point in time, that extra work that you're doing just for a favor will become your permanent job title.
It goes beyond that too. I've always preached, and I've been in a advisor role for about 4 to 5 years now. And one of the things that I do preach to any engineer that I come in contact with, and I'm effectively database support is what I am, so I'm very familiar with that whole mindset. But I've made it very clear that don't do more than what you are required to do, not necessarily for the reasons that it will be expected. It's the fact that you can't prove the system is broken if you keep applying duct tape.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, you have to let things fail. But there's so many people who are like, oh, I just want to be nice. And they do so much extra work just to put a Band-Aid here and some duct tape there. And by the time you're done, you realize that your airplane is now held together with nothing but duct tape and Band-Aids. You're like, how the fuck is this getting off the ground?
Duct tape's pretty strong. I bet you could do a duct tape airplane. I bet
Throw a
you.
little,
You,
throw a little
you
bubble
could,
gum up
but
in
you're
that
not
bitch,
going
and
to
you're
get
good.
you're not going to get a 737 off the ground with nothing but duct tape.
Maybe
That's
a
the
crop
analogy
duster,
I'm going
maybe.
for. If you make the ribs of a 737 out of duct tape and the entire superstructure and internal structures out of duct tape, it's not going to lift the engines because the engines won't even be able to fire because they're going to melt from duct tape.
Oh, the smell.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Bring
So,
marshmallows.
but the bottom line here is that I think so. While this is a great kind of an okay thing that's kind of been announced, like, oh yeah, we're not paying as many millions of dollars, where the offset of actual work done, it's almost like being rewarded just for holding an office, almost.
Yeah.
It's like a politician.
When that money could be filtered down for, I don't know, 4-day work weeks. It could be filtered down for merit raises. It could be filtered down for employee enrichment. It could be filtered down for all kinds of stuff. And
Honestly, I wouldn't even say merit raises ever, because when you start basing someone's raise on merit, that becomes very subjective, and you get a lot of chances for favoritism. If you guarantee people raises per year, I know employers like to say, well, then they're not going to do any work because they know they're going to get a raise. They work actually harder because they know they're going to get that raise and they want to make sure they feel they're earning it. So when someone tells you, oh, if they get a raise no matter what, they're just not going to work, that is a I don't want to pay you line that I've heard way too many times in my career.
Well, I think I'm more referencing along the lines of across the board, not for individuals. Like, kind of like a market equity adjustment, kind of.
Yes. Yeah, those sorts of things, like if you're adjusting for inflation, and what's really neat is I think provinces and states and countries need to get away from national, or like, I want to say get away from a national minimum wage, but have it somehow written into law that your minimum wages need to be, well, actually, no, our minimum wages here are pretty good. We just kick politicians out of power until they raise minimum wage for us. But what companies need to do, I guess the better way I should be saying it is, companies need to look at market adjustments based on cost of living in a geographic region. So like if you live in the Vancouver, Washington, or Vancouver, BC area, or the Toronto, Greater Toronto area, or even in the National Capital Region of Ottawa, Gatineau, and Canada in in Ontario, you need to be getting paid more money for your minimum wage than, say, someone out in the middle of rural nowhere, because your cost of living is going to be a lot higher in those areas versus somewhere else. So companies really need to get on top of that, start paying people appropriately for their living conditions.
Yeah, and I agree. And on that note, segueing into the second half of this wage conversation, UK studio Chucklefish boosts wages to help offset costs of living.
Chucklefish.
I love that name.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's my dog. Special guest
Work
appearance.
Hey, Rover.
Why don't you
Yeah,
come on over?
He's stuck
So
to
in
me all
case you
the
don't know
time.
who Chucklefish is, they're the makers of Starbound. And something I only found out recently, their company is made up of 60% women, which is goddamn awesome because I want to see more women in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
People clap.
Yee.
Yeah,
And, go ahead, sorry. Cut you off.
That's my dog cut me off. You cut me off. That's fine. I don't care.
Why
No.
you have to cut
But-
me off?
I get-
No.
But yeah, it is. You know what? Take it from here. I can't get my words out.
English hard, words difficult.
Ugh.
So Chucklefish is increasing their wages by £4,000 or $4,500 US to help employees with their ongoing cost of living issues, especially in the UK where things are going through the roof. And the communications manager, Alexis Trust, broke the news on her Twitter page in a post saying that the wage bump is company-wide, and it follows a 10% wage hike they had earlier in April of this year. So that is also super fantastically awesome.
It's as if they somewhat care about their employees. Go figure.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Like, I'm super thrilled.
Like more of this, please. They have a great name and a great ethic. I'm already on board. Chucklefish, we'll take care of you.
Yeah. I've never played Starbound, but now I'm even more inclined to go buy that, try it out.
Got me curious now. Yep.
Yep, I was there when it was still in early access. It's a fun game. They've put a lot of work into it. It's worth a shot. It's like Terraria, but infinite because you can go to as many worlds as you want. Which is
Interesting.
yes. So if you're into
Kind of like the Exodar,
Yes.
except for crashing into a planet.
oh yeah, you get your own spaceship. It floats up in space. That's where you respawn when you die. It's a great game.
Yeah, the difference being is in the Exodar, you crash your ship. In Starbound, you keep your ship.
I mean, you
They-
still keep your ship, the Exodar, but it's kind of permanently bound, not starbound.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well played.
Well, they've got some other games out that are of note. Hold on. And it's worth mentioning that it's more than just that. I mean, they're in business. I mean, they what? Early access that game back late 2010, 2012, something like that. But they've had other things come out that was of note. They're more playing a publisher role in some of these situations where they're facilitating other smaller developers to get their product out. So hold on.
They also make a game that's called Starmancer that reminds me kind of like FTL meets Terraria almost. That's kind of cool.
I'm all about Terraria style games too. That game took up way too much of my days when it first came out. Lumi can attest to that. We spent some time on that damn game fighting the Eye of Cthulhu and diving dungeons.
Oh yeah, with all, the whole Idris crew, that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. I'm looking at their Steam page now. There's Wild Frost, Locomotive, Eastward, War Groove.
Not to be confused with Westward.
It's-
Or Squidward.
Eastward, the sequel to Westward.
Mhm.
Inmost.
Westworld?
So a time spinner. There's a whole bunch of stuff here that's worth looking at. And for a developer that is made up of like you said, 60% women driven, it's worth a look. Support the efforts. They're treating their people well. 4-day work weeks.
They're the ideal company at this point.
Oh, fuck yeah. I'm looking at just even a contracting position. Doesn't say the salary, but you have to be able to match their in-house hours of between 9 and 5 or 10 and 6. That's for a contractor. Can you be able to work for us during regular office hours and not burn yourself out overnight type shit? That is goddamn amazing.
I will. Let
The
me
permanent.
let me
Go ahead.
contact my agent. Yes, I can.
Yes. Well, you look at the benefits for the full-time permanent pixel artist. The benefits are 4-day work week, Monday to Thursday, flexible hours between 9 to 5 or 10 to 6, with a 1 hour lunch, no crunch policy and culture, private health care, profit sharing scheme, and annual bonuses, and a bunch more. Like that alone, if I was in this industry in the programming side and the gaming side, I would absolutely be looking at it just for these benefits alone. Because I'm so goddamn old, I think of my benefits before I think of pay. Like, give me a goddamn pension. Because I love my pension.
I don't know. It seems like lately pension's been a 4-letter word. You have to do it yourself.
Yeah, I looked into it. Your 401k is exactly the same as an RRSP for Canadians, which means it's all self-driven versus an actual pension will usually come in one of 2 or 3 ways of either defined contribution where you put in X amount and your employer puts X amount into your retirement savings, or you have a guaranteed benefit, which is like very rare, and those ones are like you're guaranteed X amount of money per year based on a criteria over your career. The difference being is that with a defined benefit, if there's a loss in the pension plan, your employer's on the hook for that difference. If there's a gain in the pension plan, well, you don't get to see it, but you don't lose it.
It's something that JPEG.
Yeah, like you're guaranteed. We'll say it's like 5% of your salary over the last 10 years, of your best 10 years or average 10 years, whatever. Like you're guaranteed that money a month, and if the pension fund somehow loses money, you're still guaranteed that money. So your employer has to legally pay it. But if your pension fund makes a ton more money, well, you don't get to touch that, but it does get set aside for those years where you have you know stock crashes or whatever else, where you see a downturn in the investments, then that extra money sort of covers those losses type thing.
Which is good. I mean, it's not a perfect system by far, but it's something.
Yeah, no,
It,
it's good. I would like to see more companies work towards a pension because that's going to attract people to stay long term. Because 401ks and RSPs are great for short term, but you're still putting all the onus on the employee to manage that. And a lot of employees, especially when they're in their 20s and 30s, who the fuck thinks of a pension at those ages? When you get to
nobody.
like your late 30s, early 40s, and 50s, you're absolutely starting to think about pensions. 60s, you're like, oh fuck, I'm retiring in 5 years. And if you're like me and you're pushing almost 1,000 years old, you're thinking of pensions for the last couple centuries.
Bring that pension here, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can tell you that you're absolutely right in the fact that nobody thinks about it. You want to know why? Because we are consistently oppressed by the cost of living.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard to say, and that's again where pensions come into play, because you'll get those deductions off your paycheck, and then you're not having to worry about investing it yourself. Like in my province, you have your minimum wage, and employers can optionally pay a portion of your 2 weeks paid vacation that you're guaranteed by labor law as part of your salary, or as part of your pay. Sorry, because it's not salary. But that works out to like $7 or $8 per paycheck, literally, because that's 2 weeks divided over 50 weeks of pay. It's not a lot per paycheck. So you tell an employee who's getting paid out their vacation pay in their paycheck to go 2 weeks without pay, to go on 2 weeks of unpaid vacation, because you've already got your vacation pay.
2,080 hours, by the way.
For
That's 40 hours a week every week.
yeah.
So spread over 2,080 hours is what they're dividing it by. So it makes sense in that respect.
But that's the thing, like that's kind of where, if you give someone a 401k, they're likely going to put a whole lot less money into it because they have to think short term. Like you have to think about housing, you have to think about food and bills and shit like that, and make sure you don't, lose your vehicle or something.
Right.
Um,
That also goes back
whereas,
to the conversation you were talking about, thinking about your benefits before you actually take a job, like
absolutely,
employee
Speaking of
matching.
benefit
yeah,
jobs and stuff like that, did you hear that certain Starbucks stores and Amazon facilities are actually unionizing?
yes, there's
Yes,
like
yes,
20
yes,
or
yes.
so Starbucks and a couple Amazons are now unionized, and that's freaking awesome. But
Good.
speaking of benefits, my buddy offered me a job where he works, and the first thing I said was, "How does your pension work?"
Pension?
And he had to go look it up. And it was funny because I thought he would just be able to check on like an internal website and be like, "Oh, this is my pension site. It says it works like this." He had to log in, and when you tell me you have to log in to find your pension information, I'm gonna start guessing that it's a defined contribution. And yeah, sure enough, my friend's pension is defined contribution, which means he'd lost 8% this year because of the over year from the pandemic. And I was like, no, no, I will not work somewhere with a defined contribution
Like, thanks, but no
because
thanks, bud.
exactly, because you have to manage that loss. Like you have to come up with that 8% difference. And when you retire, if you don't have that kind of money to come up with it, you're fucked. Versus defined benefit, yeah, it's more expensive for an employer, but the employees are happier because they don't have to worry about that stuff. If there's an 8% downturn in the pension fund, they don't care because they still are guaranteed their pay. Sorry, I can rant about pensions and why they're so amazing all day long and why unions are amazing all day long. I've done that too many times,
No,
so I'll
and it's
stop.
understandable. Just in a world like we said, where the employer and the corporations just milk people for every ounce energy they have, and then don't compensate with anything. It needs to be
Yeah.
talked about more. It needs to be brought up at the front of the guys. If you want these people to put out any kind of effort for you, you got to show at least an ounce of care for them.
Not even an ounce. Like you have to actually start caring, and we have to stop talking about a livable wage. We can't be talking about that because a livable wage means you have your poverty line and you're just above it. That means it's livable. So if it's like 1 or 2% above poverty line, hey, that's great. It's livable. Fuck you. You want your employees to thrive. So whatever your regional poverty line is, because I know in like Seattle, Washington, GTA, and Ontario, and the National Capital Region and the Greater Vancouver area, those places are going to be way higher as far as the cost of living than anywhere else. You have to start paying people a wage that allows them to thrive. So if that means you pay 10, 20, 30, 40% above poverty line so that they can thrive, then you need to start fucking doing that, because when you pay your employees enough, they won't be looking for extra jobs. They won't be worrying about having worked 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs a week because they'll have enough money. And if they choose to do extra jobs, it's because they want to, not because they need to.
Yeah, and the other side of that too, like the employers absolutely have to do their part. Like here in the States, you've got companies that rely on welfare to carry their employees so they don't have to.
Yes.
Yeah, like that's some
Food
bullshit.
stamps. Like
Yeah,
Walmart is notorious for food stamps.
foods that oh, and their fancy discount card. Yeah,
And then, of course, when you keep the minimum wage at $7.25 for over 2 decades,
Yeah.
well, the other
it
side.
doesn't help things.
The other side of this that needs to be paid attention to as well is that the cost of everything is what the market will bear. And if everybody's getting more money, the cost of everything's going to go up because the market will bear it. It's a slow increase, of course, and you won't feel it until much later, but that's part of that's the other side of this that needs to be paid attention to. Rent's going to go up like my buddy who's staying with me right now. He just signed his lease, and over the pandemic, they raised his rent about $150 on his next lease sign. Normally, it's like 40, right? 30, something
Yeah.
like that, something reasonable. But
Rent control is a good thing.
Well, also the same thing with electricity. If you've noticed, especially down here, our electricity went from. So not only do you have, at least I don't have to deal with the rent stuff. I'm kind of living with my mom right now, so I'm just paying off her mortgage. But you know, I'm lucky on that front because I only pay $600 a month or whatever, and groceries. But like, apparently, electricity now went from $170, and 2 months ago jacked up to 500. Then this month was 300, and then they say that the next month is going to be the highest.
You're not in a free market energy state like I am, are you?
They shut down one of the whatchamacallit. They shut down one of the
Power generation stations?
yeah.
Gross.
Because our poor power grid can't handle it.
Really?
Because I think they said, oh, well, environment stuff, we just shut it down. I'm like, what does it mean for us?
I'm sorry, my brain's twisting and writhing in pain for this one. What?
I think it was
Right?
like an environmental issue or whatever. They thought it was affecting the environment too much, and they shut it down.
Right.
Yeah, but it's also Ron DeSantis, so you can't really, you gotta take that with a grain of salt or a
Mhm.
truckload.
Sodium flow.
Yeah.
Well, I know.
Ugh.
Like for right now, I know that since Texas is a free market state, right, the whole idea behind you pay lowest market wages because you have multiple providers. They all come from the same frickin' place, which I don't get, right? Like it all flows through the same lines.
It's all a Ponzi scheme.
It is.
Let me tell you about the fun thing that happened in Ontario.
Ooh, let's
So
hear.
for the most part, electricity companies in Canada are provincially owned, except Ontario-ish. Ontario, back a number of years ago, decided it would sell off and privatize its Ontario Hydro, because most of Canada gets its power from hydroelectric dams. So it's not uncommon for a power company to be called something hydro. Okay.
Hail Hydro.
So, exactly. It's clean, it works, and it's amazing because most of us sell it to you guys. Ha! Keeps my rates nice and fucking low. Anyways,
Us dumb
Ontario.
Americans.
Fast in
Ontario.
USD to Canada conversion rates, though.
We make an excessive amount of money because we charge in US rates.
Details.
So Ontario decided to privatize its Ontario Hydro, or Hydro One, I think it was called at the time. So provincially, it was still Hydro One, but they only owned the generation of power. But the main transmission lines were subcontracted somewhere else, or sold off to some other company and subcontracted all over the place. Distribution from substations to homes or like down streets was a different company, and then hook up from the pole to your home was a different company. And people wondered why almost all of Ontario was without power in 2000, I want to say 9, when I was 45 fucking minutes outside of Pearson International Airport in the goddamn air. And they lost all the fucking power across the entire eastern seaboard. I fucking hate privatized power. Because at least when it's provincially run, you don't care about making a profit, so you care about safety and efficiency and reliability. When you care about making a profit, all that other shit can slide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what's happening here. Oh no, you have to save energy because we haven't stored enough. The infrastructure can't handle it. I'm like, that's the reason why we pay you, is to maintain and provide, right? And
Yep.
upgrade as necessary. It boggles my mind. Like the Snowmageddon thing. Okay, that was bad, but this last summer where they were like, yeah, so we're going to adjust your Nest thermostat up to something unreasonable. You don't have to participate, but we're going to do it to save power so everybody can have some. It's that...
No.
Yeah.
No. Just no.
Like, No, you're not changing my thermostat to 82 degrees. I'm sorry. No.
You can kiss the darkest part of my ass, sir. I'm going back down to 70. Thank you very much.
But Lumi, you're not doing your part. Yes, I am. I really am.
My tax dollars are working just as good as yours, so get your ass to work. Sorry.
So, anyway, yeah, cost of living sucks. Chucklefish is doing its best to lessen the load on their employees. 4-day work weeks, £4,000 a year raise for their employees. It can't be beat. This is on top of executives not making as many millions of dollars, but still making millions of dollars instead as a compromise. It doesn't matter.
Well, the nice thing is those shareholders have been pushing for years to drop the amount of money that the executives at EA are getting paid. So good on them. They got a long way to go, but they at least got some concessions. So good on the shareholders. And that's the only way we start, limiting these number of... The US has 700 plus billionaires. The most in the entire goddamn world. The only way we stop this is by withholding compensation to executives and paying them a fuck ton less. So good on the shareholders for saying enough is enough.
Like, just imagine if you took just even $1 million from each of those little the CEOs that they're talking about. Just take $1 million of that and put it back into your employees, and just imagine.
Fuck, that's new hardware, new hires, new benefits. Like, god damn.
Not to
But no,
mention,
that makes too much sense. I'm sorry. You got to get the guy his extra Rolls Royce. So you got to get him up to speed for the yacht club.
Even to let them, or at least have the compassion to help their employees, the ones that are actually going out of their way to spend time away from their family to work for them, to make sure that they still have a roof over their head and they're able to provide for their, families without having to worry with, what's going on even after, going through this pandemic that we're in.
Because spoiler alert, without them employees, Mr. CEO, you ain't got a job.
oh yeah, the people hold a lot of the power.
Everything are beaten down to not realize that and hit it, exactly right. It comes down to compassion, and we reward narcissistic, psycho, and megalomaniacs.
Mm-hmm.
We lavish them with tons of money instead of looking for the most compassionate person to put in that CEO role. Because the compassionate person won't do the quote-unquote hard thing of firing and laying people off. No, because they'll find a better way to do something without having to terminate employments of countless numbers of personnel. Stares at upcoming topic.
Like my general manager over at the parts store I work at, he's compassionate, and he's been going through his own stuff lately or whatever at home with his family. But like I told him even before I got hired, I'm like, the only thing that I'm probably going to be limited to is a couple of days a week or whatever, but it has to be on a set schedule because I have another job. And for the past 5-6 months or whatever, it's been consistent. I was able to balance both of my jobs or whatever because he's like, we'll make it work. I'm like, cool, thanks. It might not pay a lot, but it still kind of pads my paychecks at every biweekly. So that's compassionate. I mean, it's part-time with them, so it's not like I get like vacation time through them or whatever, but I do get vacation time at my other job. So I mean, I counterbalance it, but having this, or at least him giving me the opportunity to be able to work in general to balance out, having these set days is making it, me able to survive.
We got to get her a job over at Chucklefish.
Yes.
There we go. Well, speaking of developers, CDPRed leaves last-gen consoles behind the Cyberpunk 2077. So, let me read this blurb here. CDPRed has announced that it will soon be ending PlayStation 4, Xbox One support for Cyberpunk 2077. The game's newly released 1.6 update will be the final one for old console generations as CDPRed shifts focus on the game's future DLC and its current PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S versions. So, let's talk about this.
I mean, to be fair, I know it happens with every generation. Eventually, they start just forgetting about where they started and going to the new one. But that usually doesn't happen until the newer generation has been out for at least enough time for people to actually get their hand on a console. Looking at you, Sony.
Well, I know that there's some technical difficulties. Not sure if you remember the awesome release of Cyberpunk 2077 and its
Oh,
reception.
it was a trash can on fire,
Oh,
rolling downhill. It was
Into
terrible.
a lake.
which was also on fire. So,
Yes,
So it was the
burning
Hudson River was on fire, is what you're saying.
with burning duct tape.
God,
Mm,
I can imagine the smell for that, and now it's stuck in my mouth. So,
yummy.
yeah. So I can totally understand because they want to focus more on the next generation consoles, mostly because they have the most flexibility in what they can do without taking into consideration of the limitations of the older hardware. Like when I bought that game, I played it on an Xbox One X, not the Series X, just Xbox One X. And it was good. My Xbox One X sounded like a jet engine. Oh no, like it did meet a heat threshold and it shut down. That was like the before the Series X and S were released, so that was like the upgraded one, the 4K one, just like Sony released for their Pro versions, right? So the idea that you have to take into account those consoles is a problem because they want to do awesome things, and I totally get that.
Yeah, but then at the same time, for people who can't get their hands on the actual system because they're nowhere to be found, it kind of leaves a majority of your player base in the dust. Even if you do happen to release it on a lesser system with a very downgraded version of the game. Like case in point, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, that dumpster fire. It looked amazing on PC. Like everything was sharp, it was crisp. It had its glitches because they rushed it. That's another story for another time. But I didn't want to play it on my computer. Little man wanted to play it, so we got it for the PlayStation 4. That thing is a pixelated mess on the PlayStation 4. Like everything that you would have thought would have been clear is absolutely looking like it's from PlayStation 2 era. It was terrible. And I know 2000 we're in 2022 and technology changes daily, but somebody's got to be able to sit there and know, yeah, this system is not going to be able to handle the highest. We get that, but we can still export it to a point where it's playable.
Listen, just set down the Five Nights at Freddy stuff. Go back. Here's looking at you, Sony, to Spyro and get that trilogy for the kid and be like, this is what I grew up on. Enjoy, kiddo.
Well, my man for he has three obsessions in his life. He loves Fortnite, he loves Dragon Ball Z, and he loves scary games. He loves Five Nights at Freddy's. So it's gonna be a hard sell to do a cute little dragon, but I give it a shot. I love Spyro. That's just me.
Well, what makes this interesting, I don't know how they're going to work this in because I believe that they sold a version. See here. Um, Hold on. Those who bought this here. So in this article from Game Developer, it says those who bought a special Xbox One X console prior to the game's release were promised the first expansion upon release. It's unclear how those buyers will be affected by them leaving the last generation behind. And that's concerning, right? There was an edition of that particular Xbox, the one that I had, right, that was Cyberpunk branded and promised the first expansion for it. So what are they going to do? How are they going to make that work?
They won't. That's the unfortunate thing. If they've already admitted that they're not even going to attempt to try something with the older generation, then it's just not going to happen. They're just going to leave all the old gens in the dust because they're focusing on the new shiny, pretty, bright things.
Right. Well, it could also be like I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but you can only play Fortnite on Samsung phones because you can only get it from the Samsung marketplace.
Yeah, they took it off the iTunes store or whatever the iPhone version is. I'm an Android guy. I don't know what they do. But I heard they took it off of the iPhone market.
I didn't
Crazy.
realize it was on the iPhone market, but I know for a fact it was exclusive to Samsung phones and only through the Samsung marketplace. So maybe perhaps because each one of the machines should be identifiable, and it's if you have that particular edition and version of the Xbox One X, perhaps maybe it was geared to run it, or maybe that's going to be the exception and no one else can run it. That's all speculation at this particular point, right? But yeah,
Still trash either way you look at it, though. Especially with a game that's already created. Like the game exists, it's already on the older systems. Why not just port that over to the old system too? Because they already bought the game. The only way they're gonna be able to fix it is if they guarantee you if somebody does get a PlayStation 5, they're allowed to transfer their copy over. It's the only way I see they can get away with it without too much reprimand from the fans.
yeah, makes sense to me. So either way, we'll see what happens. I think
still garbage. Still garbage.
I'll be honest with you, I love the game. It was probably one of my favorite experiences. Of course, I didn't run into all the problems everyone else did. I think I had one mission stick, but it was because I was being a side quest whore.
Side quest. That's the main quest? Fuck that. Side quest.
Oh yeah.
I fixed Jesse's sick. Jeez.
Oh yeah. I forgot he was in that. Oh.
Yeah. Watching his playthrough when he comes up to himself was just fucking hilarious. He's like, we're gonna ignore that for a little moment. He just drives right past him. You don't hear anything. Apparently, he had to take that do these screams like a dozen or so times because he didn't have just enough pain in the screams of agony.
Well, it was like, how do you depict that without it actually happening? Like, you don't know the level of pain that poor dude was going through.
Dude, you got a bio-enhanced, cybernetic enhancement installed in your penis, and it starts short-circuiting because you went to some back alley clinic. What the fuck do you expect?
That's why you don't fly for your plastic surgery. But at least he wasn't murdered, right?
Moida.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Unlike the rest of us, we're all fucked.
Indeed, especially if it comes to the voice of GlaDOS. Says she dreams about murdering people. So, if you don't know, I normally pick a lot of these things based on headlines, and that was the most interesting. And GlaDOS is a staple for any gamer who's been alive longer than 20 years, I think. And even still,
you played Portal 1 or Portal 2.
Oh yeah, Portal 1, Portal 2.
Ellen McLean is the woman who does GlaDOS' voice.
We will have so much fun.
She's
insane, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. She has some really good quotes in here, as far as that's concerned. I'm going to try to read them off here. An actor...
got two of them reversed, as far as the quotes go, but it's
I'm reading it straight from the article.
Okay. Nobody's going to notice.
Yeah, nobody can see our Discord. It's a mess.
Yep.
No, so
Details.
I do need to get some housekeeping in on that. So she says, an actor, I believe, brings their whole intellect, emotional life, feelings to any project. You bring your whole self to the project. We all have everything in us. I've never been pushed to the point of murder in my life, but I'm not saying that it couldn't happen under certain circumstances. If I had to protect myself or protect someone that I loved. Because I've had dreams. I've had murderous dreams. In my dreams, I've murdered people. I don't have murderous dreams very often, but I have had them where I've murdered someone. And so if you didn't notice, I actually put some extra inflection there just to make her sound like a psychopath, but she's not.
That's awesome.
Good. Because I've had dreams.
Destroy all humans.
Well, the thing is, though, she makes a good point, because when you, even voice actors or actors in movies, when they get into a role, that role just becomes their obsession to where they become the character. to the point where it does affect their real life psyche. I mean, look what happened with Heath Ledger. He really got into the role of the Joker to the point where it actually sent him off the deep end. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that you're voiceovering this psychomaniac murderous robot. That sure, I'm gonna dream about me looking at somebody and yeah, I'm awesome. It comes with the territory. Like when you dedicate yourself so much to becoming something else, it can leak over to your real psyche. It's not uncommon. Like who was the first Joker? It was not Heath Ledger, the one before him. That was the big one. Help. Somebody help. Can't think of his name. The
Well, Jack Nicholson did the
him,
first one.
yes. That's the one. Jack Nicholson. Even Jack Nicholson said that the role of the Joker is cursed just because of how much it fucked him up as an actor.
Well,
And
imagine what
it,
happened to Joaquin Phoenix. Oh my gosh.
Oof.
Yeah.
so I can see that. I can see her having murderous intent without actually thinking about wanting to have murderous intent. You are GLaDOS, so it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Just to set everyone's mind at ease, she did state that she only killed in self-defense in her dreams. So,
That doesn't make it any better.
well, yeah. Well, while murder is
She's
murder,
still-
but you know.
She's still going to murder humans, and good for her.
Yeah.
One less human to worry about.
Good.
It also goes to
Down,
say
boy.
that she's down to do Portal 3. So,
Yay!
along with, what was it? It was Wolpaw, the writer for Portal, is also down for it. And they asked that you send a mail to Gabe to get Portal 3 underway because they're down. And I'm down. Are you down, Cajun?
I mean, I've been down for freaking Half-Life 3, so I'm definitely down for Portal 3.
Crit?
It might take as long, but it'll come.
Crit, you up for thinking with portals?
Oh, she may have DC'd.
We lost her. No.
Womp womp. I me thinking in portals.
Hell yes.
Such a
Portals,
fun
portals,
game. Such a
portals,
fun
portals.
game.
So what I would love to see, entertainingly enough, is I don't know if you've ever like been around Crit Chicken when she's gone off on somebody for being dumb. She's really good at it,
Oh yeah.
and her Twitter PvP skills are spicy. I would like to see her cast in an antagonist role in Portal 3 because the level of like hard hitting sarcastic wit that she's got is fucking second to none. So if you could design a villain for her where she can use that really sharp, just stabbing sarcastic wit, I think it would be really awesome to hear.
Like GLaDOS is even like twin sister CRIT.
Yeah, and
Got-
she would just be like, "No, no, you're dumb, GLaDOS. Let me tear you a new one, and let me explain to you why you are a failure of all robotic kind."
Let me put you back in the potato.
Yes, to the potato with you.
Indeed.
Right.
So.
A factory reset will not save you now.
Well, I think that about covers it. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on, Amy? I know there's a few other fringe topics that weren't included in the show card, but we've got just a little bit of time because we did start a little bit late.
Well, one thing that came across my Twitter feed that I am really, really sad about. You may be familiar with a very certain white cat that has been photoshopped into a scene from Real Housewives of something or other, with the blonde woman and her friend screaming and pointing, and across the table you see the cat being a dick and he's got a plate of salad in front of him.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the cat has passed away.
No.
The owners of Thurston Waffles was the cat's name. He passed away over on the 7th of September, so 3 days ago as of the recording of this date. Unfortunately, he passed away, and it was a sudden thing, and he was well over 15, so...
Oh, he lived the good cat life.
Have to pay respects on that one.
Absolutely. He was a good cat. Even, when they were trying to figure out what was wrong with him, they even did a CAT scan. But yeah, no, he passed suddenly, which is unfortunate. You know, I love those memes of him. He's the cat that actually does that leg bite gif that you see of the cat just like looking and chomping on that person's leg. That's apparently Thurston as well. So
Oh,
my heart goes out to Thurston Waffles, king of memes when it comes to Real Housewives and saying "fuck you." Why did you give me salad?
rest in
But
peace, Kitty.
yes, rest in power, kitty.
Poor baby.
Yes. So that's the only thing that's come across my thing right now. And it's very sad. I do very much you know appreciate that cat for just being a absolute boss when it came to the memes. I will post a link to the thread on Twitter into both chat and in Discord so we can include it in the description for the episode if people want to read the post that was done. But it is very touching and it's very nice, it's very touching, and be aware that there may be onion ninjas after you read all the text. They might be attacking your house.
Oh no.
He will be
Yes,
held in high regard right up there with Grumpy Cat.
Yes. The two of them can just look down on the rest of humanity and judge us for the idiots we are.
Yes, as it should be.
Yes. So I think we still have Crit Chicken, who is maybe DC. I'm trying to find out.
Looking general memeing. So
Meow. Buttons.
that's fine. Either way, we're about to wrap up anyway, unless there's anything else you want to pack in here before we go.
No, I will mention that she is disliking all the ghouls and the plague zombies in Classic right now. I did come to visit her yesterday a couple times to infect her purposely, and she was like, "No, why, Ivy? Why?"
I enjoyed that time frame in the game when the zombies attacked. That was so much fun.
So we're
I'm
she's
your favorite
leveling-
disease.
Yeah, I was working on my engineering, and he freaking comes up behind me, and he's like, "Oh, I have a skull target. Ha! I have look at the skull target." And I'm
I
like,
put a
not
skull
really
target on her so I could find her.
So I'm not really paying attention to it so much because I have my engineering screen up, and I'm just like grinding away, making my explosives. And here, this zombie comes up behind me. He has like less than 2 minutes on his timer. He's like, "Hi, sweetie." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no! I'm just trying to do my professions. What are you doing?" And he freaking throws like this plague bomb on the freaking NPCs, my freaking trainer. I'm looking at him like I want to kill him. And I'm just like, why?
Top
'Cause
10
he was
anime.
funny.
Top 10 anime betrayals.
I was like, honey, no, please kill other people. And he freaking infects me.
Oh,
Like,
man.
to be fair, I infected like 3 other people, a bunch of NPCs. I got my ship pushed in, and then I infected Goldshire a
Oh,
lot.
Lord.
I ended up dancing. I ended up dancing with a plague zombie who'd have been infected because they hit me once. They weren't looking to kill people; they were just looking to infect. So they slapped me, so I'd be infected, and then I just immediately slash danced as the bear for a druid. So here's the stupid bear dancing, and all of a sudden the plague zombie just stops and just starts like, going left and right like super super fast to make it look like they're dancing as well. So the two of us are just sitting there waiting for my timer to kick over. And it's just a day we just went on a fucking rampage. It was a
I
good
was like,
time.
why do you hate me?
I don't hate you. I love you.
You
No,
just
just-
want to
no.
infect me and get
Wait,
in the
wait.
way of my engineering.
Just imagine
Yes.
imagine what he'd do if he didn't like you.
Oh, man. More
I would
diseases.
camp you. I would camp her if I didn't like her. If I didn't love her, I would absolutely camp because I'm
I mean,
a horrible person.
You're probably going to be camping me IRL, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh.
Oh.
I mean,
Giggity, giggity,
This-
giggity, giggity.
this is a PG-13 rated stream.
I mean, I didn't say it was rated.
We talked about porn hats first episode. I don't really think
That's true.
The level of fucks given are very low.
The
I mean,
dickhead-
it says the
dickheads have
barcode
returned.
that's eternally censored. What?
That's true. I do have censorship bars all over me. God damn it.
You're
Foiled
China's
again.
friend. Cajun, what do you got coming up?
I am actually in full blown book writing mode right now. I have been writing in my book that I mentioned a few episodes ago because my brain loves content creation and I love doing stuff on TikTok and YouTube. But right now, this book is my obsession. I can't just stop. So that's what I've been doing, other than finally getting my schedule fixed at work and not working nights and having my normal week schedule back again. So hopefully
Nice.
that'll balance my content creation back out again for now. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. And playing Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines again. That
Mm,
game's
Nice.
fun as hell. So much fun.
nice. Very nice. So, Crit and Amy, anything else you want to add to your adventures in WoW? Anything else you got coming up?
Just the same stuff for me as least, just leveling, being an altaholic, doing the electric boogaloo, hiding from Ami. Um,
I mean, I'm cyberbullying Russian embassy accounts.
I know.
That's
That's
all
that's
I'm
every
up
day.
We
to.
man.
all have our hobbies, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
But I was listening to a little bit of Limp Bizkit, and I got kind of disappointed.
Oh,
Um,
right.
yeah, because I was like, yeah, I'm vibing to old school. I'm listening to Boiler and the chocolate starfish and the hot dog flavor water. Yeah, such a good album. And I'm like, let me catch up to see what Fred Durst is doing in life. And then I see on his Wikipedia page, he's aged. Okay, he looks like kind of like he's turning into Santa Claus, but it's okay. But other than that, he said he got banned from Ukraine because he said that Vladimir Putin was a great guy.
Yeah, he gets he gets qualified now as a Vatnik, and
Right.
I will put him on the cyberbully list.
Uh-oh.
Well, cyberbullying's illegal. You can't call it cyberbully.
Sorry, corrective actions
There you
to
go.
correct
Aggressive.
aggressively
Aggressive.
correcting
Yeah.
misinformation.
Mm.
So I was kind of disappointed in that. I'm like, so do I listen to his music anymore or do I stop? Even though they were a subject of stealing lyrics and stuff like that from potential people too back in the day.
You can always just classify them with Carlos Mencia and call it good.
There you go.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Good old Carlos.
Yep. On my end of the world, I've been trying to make it a goal to try to at least get an hour, hour and a half of streaming in a night. Just to, honestly, what I'm doing is I'm plugging in my monitor headphones and trying not to interrupt myself because there's a delay for the stream monitor. And I can pipe it through a different audio output. So if you've ever tried to listen to yourself and talk at the same time, if you're
It's
not in
hard.
milliseconds in sync, it's effectively a voice jammer.
You get used to it after a while, honestly.
It makes me talk in slow motion, and I hate it.
Because I listen to the stream, like I have the stream audio running at the same time, so it's like whatever the delay is to use, it's usually about like 8 seconds. And then if I have my monitor running at the same time, like my audio monitor, I hear it right away at the same time. So it's like,
Well,
do it more often, you'll get used to it.
oh yeah, definitely. Like through the DSP in this microphone, it's like instant. I don't feel it, but through XSplit with their monitor, nope, because it's literally like half a second delay, and I'm constantly interrupting myself. So I'm talking in segments as to be considerate to myself. But I've been playing Neo 2, and I'm not sure if you are familiar with Neo 2. Negative. Think Dark Souls, but Eastern, and
Oh, Neo. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about. For some reason, my brain didn't click. Yes.
oh yeah,
I know what Neo is. Yes.
yeah. I'm doing all the fists. I'm fisting everything. Everything's getting a fist for you, fist for me. I cast fist.
I cast fist.
Yes, that's a
I
thing
never
that is
plays
happening.
Monk in World of Warcraft. Hoi hoi.
Oh no.
But you know, a lot of these games, and I wish there was better unarmed mechanics, and I like the idea of unarmed weapons while still remaining unarmed. Brass knuckles actually turns you into a better bludgeoner, which is nice. But it's high impact, it's meaty, it's visceral. things. You punch things apart. Sometimes the events, the canned events for like finishing something off that has been exhausted, is absolutely hilarious. Especially with fists. It's all the fists. I have this big ass axe in my back, and I've used it twice. Everything gets a fist. Everyone gets a fist. You get a fist. Amy gets a fist. Nordic gets a fist.
Everybody gets a fist.
So it's this wonderful combination of yokai and humanoid battle, and you've got to rethink your strategy every step of the way because they will kill you.
I'm just gonna call you Oprah Fist Fury.
Yes.
Oprah
Nice.
Fist Fury. Well, I think I know my next WoW character's name.
That plays off an idea I'm trying to work on for a D&D character where he's a barbarian who is mastered the art of unarmed combat and improvisational weaponry, where his best feats are beating a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
And his profession could be a butcher, and you could be like, I both fist things and beat your meat.
Yes. What would his name be, Crit?
The Tenderizer.
Gork the Tenderizer.
No. You gotta keep it relevant, but still fantasy. Adolf.
Oh,
No.
no. Oh no.
No. It's an actual brand. Adolf's unseasoned meat tenderizer.
Really?
Yeah, I use it on my steaks.
See, usually, like, when I answer the phone, I'm like, thank you for calling Jack's Meat Shack. How may I beat your meat?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. that would bring in clientele, 100%.
But
If it was a real place.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious meats. Anyway, so other than that, I'll be working on this podcast and promoting and trying to better everything and do all the things for the stuff and all the stuff I've said for the last 10 episodes, which, by the way, congratulations, lady and gentlemen and otherwise. We have made it.
Barcode?
Yes.
We made it to the Big 10. Huzzah!
Made it to 10. Our episodes are now in the double digits. We are official. We are a stable podcast. I got a mail from Anchor about it. So we're official. We've always been official. Doesn't really matter. We don't need a fancy email from some corporate company feeding off our podcast. Right?
But we will take that gold star. So.
Absolutely. Give me my YouTube button now. Anyway, but yeah, I'll be working on that. I'm going to try to crank out a bunch of shorts from this episode, last episode, and half of the episode before it, and see if I can get everything moving again. I'll have this episode up by midnight tomorrow night.
Wait, I got one. Red Rover, I deem the show over.
Hey,
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
awesome.